Planning and Environmental Solutions. You may begin.
Imagine a massive power outage in your city, county, or even state. Everywhere has gone black. Everything has gone silent. You're sitting in your home with no lights, no AC, no refrigeration of your food, no internet, and no communication with the outside world because your cell phone is dead. And now you're really beginning to feel uneasy. As Americans, our comfort, productivity, and national security depend upon reliable energy. As many of you know, our outdated national power grid is undergoing massive upgrades and a major addition to connect to renewable energy sources such as wind and solar. Energy companies have the monumental task of servicing over 5 million miles of power lines across the entire United States. To get to these power lines, we create temporary roads using mats, which are laid down one by one in front of the other in order to create roads to help energy companies get to their power lines with their trucks, cranes, and heavy equipment. However, the problem we face is creating roads specifically in wetland areas, whether marshes or swamps, where traditionally multiple mats have been stacked one on top of the other in the water in order to create a dry road for cranes to safely work on. Unfortunately, the stacking of these heavy mats will compress vegetative roots, destroy vital plant and animal life, impede natural water flow, and cause permanent damage to the environment. And they fail to get the crews out there safely. So how do we solve this problem? Here at Dakota Mats, the fastest growing company in our industry in just 2 years, we are proud to offer the MTech Wetland Access System, which floats on vegetative wetlands, thereby protecting the fragile ecosystem underneath. Our engineered mats are designed to distribute weight evenly over every single inch of the mat so that the downward pressure of a 75-ton crane is just 3.5 psi or less than that of a human footprint. In this picture here, Florida Power and Light needed to upgrade this power transmission line next to the St. Johns River. When the initial power lines were installed decades ago, they removed the trees, used heavy equipment, and caused long-lasting erosion damage. Thus, this very site is a real-life example of how the traditional approach to creating roads can lead to permanent environmental damage. And this is the exact problem we want to avoid today. So, traditional mats were actually attempted on this job site, but they failed. So they called it Dakota, and we came with our engineers. We created an engineered solution with our proprietary mats, and we successfully got our customer to their power lines. So number one, we provide innovation to the matting industry. The matting industry has traditionally just thrown down and stacked as many mats as needed in a wetland area without any standardization or advancement in 50 years. Our MTech system is the only engineered system on the market that uses actual design values in order to create a calculated and tested plan. Number two, we offer safety, which is a core value in the construction industry. Because our system is scientifically backed, it can essentially guarantee that it will support the weight load it is intended for. Number three, our system actually costs less than the traditional approach, not more. And number four, we offer environmental protection, not just by protecting the soil and vegetation underneath, but through the actual ways our mats are even produced. So we offer innovation, safety, reduced cost, and eco-friendliness. So you may be sitting there thinking, how is this innovative product relatable to me? How is it relevant to the general public? We all use electricity, every single one of us, every single day, in every aspect of our lives. We need reliable energy. America's future depends on it. And we at Dakota will help make it happen. For too long, infrastructure has been focused on progress and economics and not the environment. And we are about to change that. Thank you.
Great job. Do our judges have any questions?
Catherine, excellent job on the presentation. I do have a question. We certainly have a tremendous electric grid, and the application of your matting in that area, I'm sure will be years long, but I'm curious, is there additional applications that you envision for this matting?
Yes, ma'am. So specifically for the energy industry, where we have focused initially on, we know that we are specifically ideal for low-lying wetland areas where traditional mats will work only in dry areas. And in that market specifically, creating roads for energy companies, we've only reached 5% of the potential where we need to be utilized. But in addition, your question, other industries absolutely pipeline, midstream, oil and gas. With the construction of pipelines in any type of marshes, wet areas in Louisiana and Texas, these mats would be ideal to save the environment. And thirdly, just construction in general. We recently did a resurfacing construction job on a major academic hospital. And under the hospital, they have tunnels where, of course, the doctors and patients can go. And they needed ground protection in order to bring in a heavy crane. And our mats were able to essentially, as we talked about, have a very, very low impression on that soil. It's similar to a bird on a lily pad. You know, it still floats on the water, even though the weight of the bird is not sinking in the center of that lily pad.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. Great presentation. So you are mentioning that some of the cranes, will this eventually be in the construction industry? Maybe is that one that you could actually, are you doing any work there? Is there something that eventually will branch out to?
Yes, ma'am. So we are focused right now on the energy industry because we see a lot of need there. And as we create a new power grid system and branch out, but yes, we definitely want to target the pipeline, oil and gas, and general construction. As urban encroachment increases, we need cranes in more and more precarious situations where the ground protection is vital. So that's why we're hoping if we win this competition to create awareness. We're trying to bridge that gap between the research and development in the lab and actual commercialization. And we know from just laminate woods in general, they were developed in 1960s, for example. They did not even enter the construction market till the 80s and really didn't take off till the 90s. So we're hoping to achieve the same success through awareness, training, and advertising.
So I have a quick question, actually maybe two. So you mentioned the capacity on the mats. Is there an upper limit that you see for your mats? And then as you look at the wetlands, is there a coefficient of how much, what area that you can or can't go through, still a limitation?
Yes. So we've broken our system into a type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4, and 4 being the most severe. Type 1 is your typical dry land where a traditional mat may suffice, and we would definitely recommend that. Type 2 is when you walk on the soil. So we actually walk the job site, months in advance. If an energy company calls us out there, once we walk on the site, we look with a human footprint for an average 200-pound man wearing a size 10 shoe. Simple, but really reproducible is that you walk on the soil and the soil goes up and you sink to the sole of your shoe, versus your ankle, versus your shin. That lets us know when you need a type 2, where there's variability of maybe 1 to 2 feet in the soil. Type 3, in the picture I had shown, where there is actual 10 to 15 feet of swamp water. And type 4 is going straight out into the actual water itself, where we create floating pads. So underneath our timber or wood mats, we do use foam to help float and actually carry a 75 to 150 ton crane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.